Hey guys, welcome back to Karting with Chris. Today's video is going to be the Fall 4 race here at North Texas Karters. So I took a bit of a break from posting videos, and so I did some races while I was doing that break, and I am going to show you those races. So we're going to start off with this one. This is the Fall 4 race, like I said. And this race was about a month ago, maybe a little more. Obviously, if you're watching this a year from now, it's been more than a month, but at the time of recording this voiceover, it has been about a month. And the unique thing about this race is that there was an eclipse during this day. So you can't see it. We didn't get a full eclipse, but there is a partial eclipse. So, anything can happen during an eclipse. Now, speaking about odd phenomenons, I qualified 4th for this race. Didn't think I was going to qualify 4th in this race. I thought I was going to be in last because I was all by myself in qualifying, and there was a pretty strong wind today, and you really need that draft whenever it's windy. So qualified 4th indicates that I might have some pace, but starting 4th is probably one of the worst places to start around this track, just because you're on the outside and you don't really have a whole lot of options. So hopefully the people on the inside don't run me out wide. We're going to follow Hunter in front of us in kart 614 here, and just kind of hope for the best. So going down the straight here, flagman waves green, we're good to go. You can see the inside gets a really good start, so we're going to lose positions immediately. I get a bump from behind, kind of pushes me out wide, and everyone passes me. So I went from 4th down to 9th. I'm in dead last now, so that was not an ideal start. You can see people are still going side by side through turn 3. Maybe we can get the over-under here, follow kart number 6. So we move up into 8th place. We at least gain a position back, but I did have to go side by side through the chicane back there. You can see just how much everyone pulled away from me because of that. So hopefully we can gain these positions back, because this has been a dreadful start. Now 2 karts in front, not kart number 6, but the kart in front of him, is my teammate, who's also my brother. He's about to get past going into turn 1 here. He was on a ridiculously tall gear, so he was hitting rev limiter really early going down the straights, and he wasn't really doing good on pace, and so I'm going to catch up to him here. You can see him going really wide through turn 3, right on his bumper right now, and fortunately for me, he's not really going to fight me too much. You can see he looks behind him. He knows I'm there, but coming out of the corners, like I said, he had a really tall gear, so he will pull away from me quite a bit coming out of the corners. But once he hits that rev limiter, I'm just going to start catching up to him. So coming out of turns 8 and 9 here, you can see once he hits his rev limiter, I start to gain on him. And going into turn 1, I look for the move, and he kind of turned down on me there. So I kind of had to back off, and unfortunately, the person who was behind me slides up my inside going into turn 2. And then through turn 3, he still has the inside, and we move down into 9th place. So team tactics not really working out there. We look like a bunch of Ferrari drivers with our team strategy. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's not good. But we can see that, my brother's really not pulling away from me. One thing I noticed throughout this race is that although my brother has a tall gear, I also felt like I had a tall gear. There was a massive tailwind going into turn 7, and so I'd be hitting rev limiter really early. And going into turn 1, you'd think there'd be a headwind, but I would also hit rev limiter going into turn 1 as well. So for the next race, I was already thinking throughout this race what I was going to do for the next race. And so for the next race, I was thinking about doing a shorter gear, so I have more top end. So going down the straight here, you're going to see 612, look for the move on my brother. Not quite close enough to follow him, and so I'm not going to be able to get the move done through turn 7 here. Kind of bump my brother there. They're going to go side by side through turns 8 and 9. This is going to be my opportunity to pass my brother. We're right on his bumper. He doesn't get a very good exit, and I'm just going to go by him. He kind of points me by, and we move up into 8th place. So we finished lap 4, start lap 5. We're halfway through the race now. And you can see the pack in front is quite a bit ahead of us. They're probably 2 or 3 seconds ahead of us. So it's going to be very hard to catch up to them. If they start fighting a lot, we should be able to catch up to them. But at this moment in time, I'm probably just focusing on 612 in front. I believe that's Addy. You can see down this straight here, we have a tailwind, and I'm really not catching on Addy that much because the slipstream is not as powerful. And then going through turns 8 and 9 here, we're about to get into a headwind going into turn 1. And you're going to see just how well the slipstream works when you have a headwind. You see how much I pull on him going down the straight here. So that's the power of the slipstream. And I'm kind of working together with Addy right here. I can see we are catching up to the two people in front a little bit here. So maybe we can catch up to them and maybe make some more position. So kind of playing the waiting game here, but obviously if we don't catch up to them, it's just going to be a battle for 7th. So up ahead, the two in front of Addy are fighting a fair bit. Going through turn 7, they are going to go side by side, and so that's going to slow them down a lot. And actually, cart number 6 up ahead has a broken bumper, and so he's going to receive the meatball flag, which basically tells him to come into the pits because you're basically driving an unsafe vehicle. So going into turn 2 up ahead, he raises his hand, goes into the pits. We're going to move up into 7th place, gaining a position there. So I'm kind of pleased with 7th place right now, but I am starting to lose Addy in front. He is kind of pulling away from me right now, and I'm not within that slipstream. Like I said before, going down to turn 7 here, there is a bit of a tailwind, so the slipstream's not as powerful. But going into turn 1, that's where the slipstream is really powerful, and coming through turns 8 and 9 here, I'm not close enough. And we're about to finish lap 7, start the last lap, and I'm not within striking range, so it's looking like we're probably going to have to finish this race in 7th place. So we skip ahead to the end of lap 8, and we did finish in 7th place. Not too upset about that. We are starting on the inside for the final. We did start this race in 4th, so ideally I'd like to finish 4th or higher, but overall, can't complain starting on the inside. So we skip ahead to the final race here. Like I said before, we're starting in 7th, we're on the inside. And for this race, I decided to go down a tooth in the gearing department. So what that means is that I will have more top end down the straights, but I'll have less bottom end coming out of the corner. I'll have less acceleration. So there's only really one way to know if this is the right move, and that's just to start the race. But like I said earlier, we're starting on the inside, and basically the tactics is just to follow the person in front, because we'll have the inside for the first couple of corners. So flagman waves green, we're good to go, and right off the bat we can see it's a pretty clean start here. I kind of backed off a little too much going to turn 1 there. Going to turn 2, someone spins out there. We gain a position, move up into 6th place. My brother decided to go side by side with me through turn 3 there. Didn't really work out for him, and so we maintained 6th, but you can see the pack in front has already pulled away from me there. So actually I wasn't really too happy that my brother decided to send it into turn 3, but you know, it's racing, he's allowed to do that. And unfortunately, the group in front are within each other's slipstream. And like I said, there was a headwind going to turn 1 here, and so that's going to allow them to pull away from me. One thing I also did for this race is I went kind of low on the tire pressures. I felt like in the pre-final my pressures went off a little early. So early in this race, I'm going to kind of struggle for pace, but later in this race, I should be able to have a tire advantage if other people are running higher PSI. Now, another thing to note, I know you can't see behind me, but there is another cart behind me. I believe it was Enrique, cart number 6. One thing I noticed is that down the straights, he really wasn't pushing me. He'd really only push me if I screwed up a corner and got really bad momentum coming out of the corner. So down the straights, he wasn't really pushing me, and so that kind of told me that maybe I had the better gearing down the straights. But through the corners, especially coming out of a corner like turn 3 is the slowest corner on the track, he would kind of nudge me a little, and so maybe he's got a little bit more bottom end than me. But for the time being, he really wasn't displaying any signs that he wanted to pass me. I'm pretty sure he wanted to work together and try and catch up to the group in front. And so we skip ahead to the end of lap 9, start of lap 10. We have caught up to the group in front. Like I said before, I kind of set my tire pressures to come in a little later into the race, and I felt like at this point in the race, my tires were feeling really good and I had a decent amount of pace. And so we were able to catch up to this group. So The front of this group is first place, so first place is in front of us. You can see coming out of some of these corners, I really don't have the pull coming out of the corners. So my gearing, I felt like, was a little too short, but you can see people are going side by side, going through turns 8 and 9 here. Addy in front passes Landon in cart number 625. And unfortunately, I wasn't quite close enough to follow Addy into the move. So that's the one thing I noticed throughout this race, is that coming out of the corners, people would kind of pull away from me just because I didn't have that acceleration. But going down the straights, especially at the end of the straights, I would start to catch up to them because I had the better top end. So they pull away from me right here at the beginning of the straight, and then towards the end of the straight, you can see I kind of gain on them again. So that's not really ideal when you're trying to pass someone. You really need to get beside them before you go into the corner. So at this point, I'm kind of at a stalemate. I'm a little frustrated in the cart. You can kind of tell by my driving, just not being able to make any room. You know, I have the pace, as you can tell. I caught up to this pack, but I can't really pass them because I can't really get beside anyone. But as you can see, people are fighting a fair bit. Landon and Addy are going at it right now. I'm going to try and work together with Landon. I can tell Landon really wants to get in front of Addy here. I'm good friends with Landon. I've raced with him many times before. I know his racing style. You can see the three in front, the top three, are going side by side as well. So first place is still within picture here. And while this is all happening, Enrique is still behind us, so we do have to worry about that. But we skip ahead one lap here. We're on lap 14. Not a lot of laps left in this race. We can still see first place up ahead. This is when things start to kick off here. So going into turn 3, the person in second goes really wide, and so they're going to go side by side through the chicane. And that's going to really slow them down. And so Landon goes on the inside, and so I'm going to push him down the inside here. Enrique's right behind me. Going to turn 7 here, Enrique accidentally bumps into the back of me, and that causes me to bump into the back of Landon and spins him out. So unfortunately, Landon did kind of get wiped out there. It wasn't intentional. You know, whenever you're training up like that, doing a train of 3, going on the inside of 2 other people, it is kind of hard to tell where your braking points are, especially if you're in the back. So you know, Enrique bumped into the back of me, and then I bumped into the back of Landon. And it probably wasn't on purpose, or at least I hope it wasn't. It's just one of those unfortunate incidents. Now, at this point in the race, we're in 4th place. 3rd, Enrique in front of us, is within striking range. I actually don't know what lap we're on right here, so you can see me kind of pushing him. That's because I want to catch up to the 2 in front. They didn't wave 2 to go, so I had no idea there was 2 more laps left. But now I can see them waving the white flag here. You can see Enrique's kind of pulling away from me here. He's going defensive through turn 1. Like I said earlier, I felt like I had more top end down the straight. So through these corners here, he is going to be able to kind of pull on me. He screwed up turn 2 there and turn 3. So he is making mistakes. Going into turn 7 up ahead, he's going to go defensive. And so he has the inside line. I'm going to look for the over-under going into turn 7, kind of get that cut back. Going into turns 8 and 9, he's going to have the inside. And so I'm going to look for a better exit here. And so exiting turn 9, we're going to get within that slipstream, pull along beside him. It's going to be a drag race to the end. And because I had just a little bit more top end than him, I was able to pass him right at the finish line. I believe the gap in between myself and him was 0.02 of a second. You can see he's a little frustrated with that, but it was good racing from Enrique there. That last lap was a bit of a nail biter. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I did get a little lucky with the incident with Landon. Had that not happened, I'm pretty sure Landon probably would have walked home with 3rd place. So a bit unfortunate, but sometimes all you can say is that's just racing. So that's all I have for today. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing. If you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, please do comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.